Hey everybody, I'm Robert Tomlinson, the commissioner of the USA eBaseball Power League, and welcome to the Week 8 Roundtable for the USA eBaseball Power League. I cannot believe we are just about to get started with the 8th week of 9 in the regular season. The season is wrapping up really quickly, and there is a lot to go through, so let's get talking about it. I'm here once again with our panel of Compass, John's Copyright, and Slimefall. Welcome in, gentlemen. What's good with y'all tonight?
Good. Had a good 4th of July too. Hope you guys did.
Yeah. Great 4th of July filled with a lot of games. A lot of baseball.
Right.
Nice
Yeah.
4th of July.
Yep, and a trumpet solo.
Yeah, that too. Forgot about that.
Let's go. Yes. I haven't played trumpet in about a year or two. I messed up on a high note, but that's all right.
John, you need to save that as a highlight, okay? You really need to do that.
No, for sure. I'll do it. I'll do it after this.
Definitely, because we should probably, leave a little space here in the video for John's solo, or at least link to it in the description or something like that, because it was phenomenal. Okay,
It was beautiful. What
John
a way
for
for me
his-
to.
yeah, John, for his matchup against Big Sid, did the national anthem on July 4th. It was fantastic.
Yeah. A little messed up right there. Had the mic peak a little bit. What do I mean by a little bit? It was kind of a lot, but it's all right. My valves got stuck too, but we ended up doing it. We're good.
And the dog was harmonizing.
That was the first time I heard my dog even howl like that. That was crazy, actually.
Wow.
And my dog was singing along. That's kind of funny too.
Nah,
That's
I gotta
cute.
go back and watch.
Yeah, I know
It's
there.
that patriotic spirit.
Oh man, we had to. It's USA baseball. Had to.
It was a great week here in the USA eBaseball Power League, and let me tell you, folks, there are going to be some shakeups in the standings as we head into Week 8. So let's go ahead. We're going to focus a little bit more, not exactly on the individual games like we have been doing this week, but we're going to talk a little bit about all the teams that have competed so far this year and what their strengths have been, what their weaknesses have been, how they can improve, especially as we go down into the last couple of weeks of the season, because there's going to be some big races at the top of the standings, in the middle of the standings. It's going to be a wild finish. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what we got here. And folks, there is a lot to talk about, because here are the standings as of our recording on Sunday night. There's only been a few Week 7 games played. We're going to hope to get them all done and scheduled this week, as well as the Week 8 games. So hopefully, by the end of this week, we'll see 24 games played all across the column here, coming into the grand finale. That is Week 9. Can you guys believe that we're so close to the end of this regular season already?
Man, it just feels like yesterday we were drafting our teams, getting ready, talking about what we need to go into, just getting hyped over our first round selection. And now look at us. Some people don't even have their first round selection on their teams anymore. Everything has changed so much, and it's about to be all what we all played for, what we all prepared for.
Yep. Yeah, John, what do you think?
This season already went by so quick. I know, for some people, it might have been pretty slow. It's because just the records, but I just had a lot of fun. For this whole season too. Man, I can't believe we're already here, already at Week 8. Yeah, so just a month and a half, and just so much has happened within a short span of time. But I can't believe it's coming to an end pretty soon. I'm kind of bummed out about that aspect.
Slime?
Yeah, they described it right. It feels like we just started yesterday.
Yeah,
Like week 1 was just like it's so far gone now, but I swear we just started week 1 last week.
I swear we were just talking about who was the best players to draft and everything.
Exactly.
Feels like just yesterday the draft hadn't even started. Now we're all the way here.
Yeah.
Yep, and it has been quite a journey so far. And today we're going to talk a little bit about each of the teams here. And we're going to go bottom to top here, bottom of the standings to the top of the standings here. And we're going to start with the last place player right now, and that is the Wolverines, owned by Shelly. Finishing up week 6 with a record of 2-16 with 18 runs scored, 56 runs against, a negative 38 run differential, and a 111 win percentage, right on the brink of being eliminated from playoff contention. But, you know, there have been, folks, some positives to take away from Shelly's season. Compass, what do you think are some of the big positives to kind of take away from Shelly's season here?
Well, of course, the last series that he was in, he did very, very well compared to what he's been doing. Some positives to take away is that he is a pretty good pitcher, a lot better pitcher than his record would suggest. His main weakness is that hitting, but his pitching is actually really good, and that comes from, of course, that lock-on 3 experience. Got to be a good pitcher over there, but I would think that would be the main takeaway, is that he can compete with a lot of these other top-level pitchers. I mean, he's right around there with, like, let's say Slimefall. He only has 4 more runs allowed than him. It's definitely something that you can look at and be proud of.
Yeah, John, what do you think are some of the big positives here with Shelly's season?
I'm saying right here, you know, I think he started it took him a little bit long just to kind of get used to the feel of the league and to what his strengths are. You know, I feel like during your first season, you kind of learn what you're good at and what you want out of your team, you know. And I guess for the rest of this season, he should focus on like what he wants for next season and see how he can build towards that. I mean, we saw a couple of home runs from Daichi, man. And congrats to your first home runs of the season, man. Those were really good home runs on there.
Yeah,
he had a really good series. Really good series against Exlong too, even though it didn't, you know, pull out with all of them. He could have won 2 of those games too. So, you know, he could have been back into, you know, maybe the playoff hunt. But yeah, it's just a lot of close games. You know, he had a good pitching squad as well too, you know. But it just, you know, the first year. That's just what happens, you know. So he's starting to get a feel more for it. So yeah.
Yeah, Slime. What do you think? What have you thought of Shelly's season so far?
I didn't think it would go the way it is right now. I'm never gonna be honest with you.
Why do you think that?
Maybe it was because since there's no lock on, he's not making that much. Probably most likely not making that much contact. Besides, well, tonight he went off. I saw some of them hits. I saw the home runs. They were beautiful.
They sure
Tear
were.
to my eye. Enough to make a grown man cry. But
fair enough. You know?
I guess he's just not performing like I thought he would, man, because this is just his first time playing. Because I was thinking of the lock-on 3-way that he was doing, which is still terrifying when I think about it.
Definitely, yeah. And one of the big reasons why Shelly was in the league is because of that big performance that he had in the USA Open last year. You know, big lock-on 3 environment, darn near making it to Raleigh, North Carolina for the USA Finals. You know, that's a big, you know, that's a big, hey, here I am, put the community on notice, here I am kind of performance right there. And yeah, there is a lot of adjustment, like we've mentioned in the past, about moving from a lock-on 3 environment to a no lock-on environment. And Shelly has said as much as well. And, we got a little bit of commentary from him after X-Long took 2 of 3 from him tonight. And pretty much he said that, some of the contact he would make would have just been better on a power swing slugger, and that he should have drafted a lot of sluggers in the lineup. So that was something I thought was interesting.
Opposite. Yeah, sorry to interrupt. It's interesting because he definitely drafted like a whole contact clinical hitting team, and he finally found out, I was like, oh, maybe it's the opposite that I should draft. So yeah, I mean, he showed it tonight. The D power or the D contact and then A power from Daichi Man. Shows like what could be his play style for the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tonight was a great example of that. So there's a lot in that department though that Shelly can improve in, and like we mentioned, going maybe with some more power hitting than he does with contact. And Shelly said as much, that quote, I only win off dingers even in the show. So that's something that's interesting to think about for any future seasons.
I like that attitude.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely a good attitude to have. Even despite a 2-16 record, there's a lot of room for improvement, as with all 2-16 records. Trust me, I know. I'm a Detroit Lions fan. I know bad records. All right. So, but there's a lot of silver linings in this 2-16 record that I feel like they can build on for the future. So that's some big stuff here. Big stuff here. So keep your head held high, Shelly. You've done a good job this year, despite a lot of the early struggles. And just keep the good fight.
Yeah, ignore what I said. You're actually doing pretty good.
All right. Going up the standings here, we go to the Boricua Islanders and Big Sid. 21 games in, they have finished their Week 7 matchup. They are at a record of 6-15, 62 runs scored, 80 runs against, a negative 18 run differential. In fact, that 62 mark, despite, some players having 21 games, some players having 18 games, that is, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's the 5th best mark in runs scored in the entirety of the league. But he has given up the most runs in the league by far. So
that's not like Big Sid too.
Yeah, and honestly, John, I feel like it comes down a lot to how Big Sid's pitching was this year.
Yeah, was it I guess in the pivotal situations, with runners in scoring position, he just hasn't shut him down as much. Maybe it's the pitchers he uses, he doesn't know where to locate him exactly. But I know he's a great pitcher, man. It was tough hitting off him, especially this 4th of July series too, because he doesn't throw. He pitches for weak contact, and he's so good at that. And I feel like he should go back to his strength. They're just trying to I don't know if it's the pitcher he has the star power that he has on the pitching side. He does have some good pitchers. Magoto's there, Ioba's there. It's just tough, and just very unlucky, honestly. But the offense though, he can hit for contact very well. Get those runners in too. I mean, 62 runs scored is still a really good mark. But it's just a matter of having the bullpen, finish the game. He's a good pitcher. I'm always gonna say that. Despite the 80 runs, I feel like he knows what he's doing. At least I feel like we caught up to his patience. Because he has a lot of patience at the plate, and he also will work your patience when he's pitching against you.
Definitely, yeah. And Compass, like we mentioned, Big Sid's offense, that's the big silver lining. That's the big strength that Big Sid has had this year.
Yeah, it's pretty surprising that it's gone out this way. If you would have told me before this season that Big Sid would have had a 6-15 record, I personally wouldn't believe you in the first place. But if you would have absolutely told me that it was true, I would have thought that it was because he couldn't get the runs going. I would have never thought it was because the runs allowed. And in my personal opinion, it's kind of because of the pitchers that he has. He hasn't been putting good pitchers, especially from his bullpen, on the mound. Like, nobody on his roster, especially before the Hoshi trade, nobody on his roster was really that great coming out of the bullpen. It's like Anuki's like the best person coming out of the bullpen. He's putting Kai on the bullpen or out on the mound regularly, and even his top pitchers, they're not the best pitchers. I mean, Aoba is really good, especially against certain people, but certain people can definitely take advantage of Aoba. Aoba is definitely kind of a one-dimensional pitcher, and Majuro, if you've talked to me before, I am a cutter hater on no lock on. I do, especially I just don't like the cutter in general, especially if you're not dotting up like the outside edge of the zone. It's just a kind of weak pitch to me. It doesn't have that much movement. It kind of sits there. Everybody knows where it's gonna go. It takes a stupid good pitcher that knows what they're doing to use somebody like Majuro effectively, especially with that cutter. And I don't know, it just hasn't been working out, even though he's been using Majuro pretty well for my standards. I know that I had him in a previous season and had to trade him away because of how bad he was, but it's the bullpen, really. The bullpen has given up so much runs, but the offense is there. I mean, it's a tough season. I think that his season has gone a lot better than the record would suggest. He has wins against me and John, two of the top competitors. I'm not sure who else he has some wins against.
Yep, he has one against Brando Scotty. Let's see. Where are the Islanders?
I mean, he shows that he's talented and he has great wins. It's just he can't put it together, it seems like.
Yeah, and he's had a little bit of a tough schedule. You know, he had Brando Scotty in week 1. He had YG in week 2. Jeff the Boss in week 3. Then you go down to week 4, and you had him take on, Slimefall, and that was a crazy series. Then the Islanders, they took on, who did they take on in week 5? Compass in week 5. So the schedule, really hasn't done Sid a whole lot of favors.
No, it hasn't. Definitely has not. He's been facing some top level competition, and I would personally say the way he's looked this season is not indicative of his record. I think that or the other way around, you know what I mean, but
right.
He's playing a lot better than his record would suggest. It's just really unlucky. I think that he needs, going into next season, he just needs to focus on getting his pitchers right, getting the bullpen down, getting pitchers that he can rely on to go in and finish out the game.
Definitely.
And I think he'll be fine. I think once he gets that figured out, he'll be fine. I think he'll be back to playoff contention where we expected him to be before the season started.
Most definitely, I agree. So Big Sid, 6-15 record. Definitely a lot of silver linings. Definitely with the offense, but it's definitely been the pitching that's been the bugaboo for him. So hopefully, Sid, he's a great player. He knows what he's doing. Sometimes it just doesn't go. It's just one mistake here, one mistake there, and it just kind of unravels on him a little bit. And it's not great, but he's still getting through the season, and that's a great thing,
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and move on up the ladder, and we go now to B. Farrell and the Philadelphia Bandits, coming in with a 6-12 record through 18 games. And Slime, from one fellow power swinger to another, what can you say about B. Farrell's season being the way it is right now at 6-12?
The rust took a long time to come off. I think that's what happened. The rust took a long time.
Yeah, especially trying to get into the rhythm of power hitting again, right?
Yeah. After some time, just hitting in general just becomes a challenge if you don't do it in a while. You just have to find that rhythm again.
Yeah, 31 runs scored, 55 runs against, a negative 24 run differential. Compass, what can you say about B. Farrell's season so far?
If I were to say his season in one word, it would be inconsistent. I think that the rust has just made his hitting so inconsistent, and we've seen flashes of his old self where he hits multiple bombs a game, but I think that's also kind of one of the drawbacks of power hitting. If you can't get that rhythm, if you can't get that feeling, if you aren't always working on it, you can become inconsistent, where we see somebody hit a couple of bombs and it looks like they're doing really good, and then they go on a stretch where they really cannot score a run. And we've seen B. Farrell go on stretches where he's gone games where it just looks like nothing is coming off the bat right. And I mean, it's tough because we've seen what he's done last season, know the type of talent that he has. It's just tough.
Yeah, but if there's one silver lining for B. Farrell's season, what do you think that would be?
I think that he still shows his flashes that he can be back at that level that he was, as long as he puts that work in, as long as he puts in the effort to shake off the rust. We've seen multiple games against pretty good players where he looks very, very good. Like, he looks like the B. Farrell of old that was taking Zumi to 3 games, about to go into the Summit Series, where he would have a very good chance of beating me. He's beaten me countless amount of times in PlayStation League, so I mean, we've seen the flashes of that. It's just, can he get back to it?
Yeah, especially given, he's got a couple more matchups left this year. Let's see, B. Farrell. Yeah, he has the Slimefall, and he has Kangang the last couple of weeks. Do we think they can make a little bit of a run to at least try to get near to 500?
It's going to be tough. It's really going to be tough because we know both of those competitors. Of course, Slime's here, but both of those competitors going to be fighting hard for their playoff seeding. The playoff seeding is going to be a big war for people. I think that everybody's going to be fighting for seeds. And it's just gonna be super tough. If he can play like B. Farrell of old, he could do whatever he wants. He has that type of talent to push to 500 against those guys. But Kang and Slime, both two of the top people in our server, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, John, what do you think is one of the big positives from B. Farrell this year?
I think, the power hitting and even the team that he has, is still there. I mean, like, he has a bunch of sluggers on his team. I mean, Vanguard, Yaki Mask, Sendo, the biggest one out of everyone. So, like, it's a really, really good, solid lineup. The pitching also is pretty solid, too. It's just, like, I guess it just been him not been playing as much, ever since, we stopped with, like, EPL, even Captain's League too, been playing much of the game. Last year, he scored 96 runs, compared to, like, the 31 this season. It was pretty shocking, I feel like if his offense was there, he can be pulling out these games and he'd be a contender right now. But, man, I mean, pitching is still there. Also, I feel like another thing too is that his defense against the contact hitting, is probably, like, came up against him too. I think, when you play against a lot of contact hitters, you know, especially with the outfield he has, you know, it's a bit tough to get those shallow like fly balls or even those bloops. So, you know, I feel like he has to work on like the defensive positioning to kind of, you know, negate the big contact innings from going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's been pretty good. He's been pretty good again. You know, these last few weeks he's been showing it. I feel like he can get it back. He's going to make this series with Slimefall going to be pretty interesting. So we'll see how many bombs we're going to see in that series.
Yep, and B-Feral's had a little bit of a tough schedule as well. You know, taking on X-Long in week 1, then taking on, let's see, Bandits, MC Scales in week 2. Then he had, who was it? Zumi in week 3. That was a big matchup right there. Basically, he's had a lot of tough matchups. Jeff DeBoss in week 4. Then he had, let's see, the Wolverines in week 6, which that was his first series win of the year, or at least week 5, I should say. And then week 6 took on.
It was right underneath.
Yeah, YG.
Against YG.
Yeah, so, and that was a pretty close series. You know, he's had those moments of just being right on the cusp of getting those wins. You know, if a few bounces go a different way, you know, maybe if he has an actual defensive first baseman, he gets a few more wins. So there are definitely some moments that B-Feral has had that definitely could have changed the season, and we'd be talking about this a little bit differently about him maybe being around 500, maybe being in the playoff run, but now he's got a lot of work to do, and right now, it just given the matchups he has, it might be a little bit unlikely to see him in the playoffs, which would be very shocking just given what happened last season. So it'll be interesting to see how that season finishes out for him. All right, next up we go to Jeff DeBoss and the Smooth Jazz. They also come in with a 6-12 record that is, let's see, 18, 17, 16, 15th place, 34 runs scored, 51 runs against, a negative 17 run differential. Smooth Jazz, you know, a bit of another tough season, Compass, but what can you say about Jeff DeBoss and his performance throughout the season? Again, there have been some flashes, right?
Yeah, there's been some flashes. Of course, Jeff DeBoss has been around here for a long time. He can take a game off anyone. We all know that. It's just he's been very balanced, but it's just been his hitting has been slightly below average, and so has his pitching. It's just he's been very balanced, but it just hasn't been enough. He's been putting up great games against great competition and taking wins where he needs to, but it just hasn't been enough. He's just his hitting just sometimes isn't there. Sometimes he's letting up too many hits against some of the top hitters. It's just I don't know.
Yeah, but what is one positive that can be taken away from Jeff's season here? Because there's definitely quite a lot there to compliment him on. I mean, he took a game off Zumi right at the beginning of the year, first game of the year, yep. 10 innings, 1-0 there, so that was pretty good. Took a game off Dat Shadow, which was very good, 2-0 there. No, he had a game against Sid that he took a game off of, 7-0. You know, a four inning 7-run mercy rule game. So there's been some times where he's had some good offense too.
Yeah, he's had some great offense against some very good pitchers a lot of the times. It's been pretty inconsistent for him, and the hit or the pitching just sometimes isn't there. Of course, his pitching has been a problem. His staff is very weak. Of course, his defense is very strong, and it makes up for it a little bit, but his staff is just really underpowered, and it holds him back a little bit. I think that if he would have drafted a little bit better of a pitching staff, especially at the top there, could be looking at a different season.
Yep, and there's his last 3 matchups of the year, YG, Clutch, and MC Scales. You know, there's a chance to maybe see a double-digit win total for Jeff.
Definitely,
for sure.
Yep. Yeah. So Slime, what do you think of Jeff's season here? From one purple and yellow team to another.
Yeah. Yes.
It's hard because to me, he's just like, he's consistent on both ends, or not consistent, but he's the same on both ends. He's a pretty decent pitcher and a pretty decent hitter. It just he's been slightly, it just needs to come together a little bit. He's been just slightly below average on both ends, but I do believe he's a very good player, and he takes games off a lot of these top players. He's pretty good at both the contact hitting side. He hits a little bit of bombs, but he's mostly a contact hitter, and he is a good pitcher in terms of location and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
He needs to put it all together. Of course, I've already said this before about somebody else, but if he drafts a better pitching squad next time, it could be scary.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on up the list then, and let's go to Brando Scotti and the Sassy Squatches, coming in to week 8 with a record of 7-13-1 through week 7 games. 52 runs scored, 68 runs against. 52 runs scored, that's a pretty good number right there. Negative 16 on the run differential, a .357 win percentage. And I think, John, there's one thing that always comes to mind when I watch the Sassy Squatches play, and it's the image macro that Brando Scotti puts up on his stream every time something goes wrong. Horribly wrong.
Oh, man.
And that is the now that's what I call Sassy Squatch baseball. And honestly,
that's what I call.
there's been a few too many moments of that this year.
Man, it's tough too, because he's always in these games too. These are very close games, and then it's just a bad inning, or the game goes to extra innings, and then it's really tough to come back.
I think I think the series against Compass in week 2 is a good example. 6-5-10, 2-1 in game 3 there. It's been he's in these games, like you said.
Yeah, like every of these games, always in it, always making it a good competition too. He has the pitchers, he has a great squad, decent bats in his lineup too. I mean, like having Graviton Rai and having, of course, Myojin, at the top of your pitching squad, that's gonna help out a lot. It's just disappointing, when these games kind of fall out of your hands. I think it might be, the offense might not have like a lot of good like contact hitting, because most of these hitters I'm seeing have like C hitting, low contact numbers. I feel like if he would have benefited if he picked some like players that had like B contact, more of like players like Suzuki in his lineup. But yeah, it's been a very competitive season so far. These two, looking at the two matchups that are coming up for him too, I think it's going to be good. The pitching wise, against the Narwhals, and especially against that lineup against the Phantoms too. I mean, shoot, it's going to be good for the rest of the season. But it's just coming up in those clutch moments, hitting wise, and then closing out with your bullpen. Using your best guys, at the end of the game and trying to hold the lead. It's been a bit of an issue.
Yeah, but I think Slime for Brando's first season in the affiliated EPL, I think you got to say that this was a bit of a success.
Yeah, good go for your first ever attempt of the season.
Yeah, Compass. I think you can agree with that too, right?
Yeah, I think that if you're Brando Scotti, especially with the way that the beginning of the season went, and with the level that he was playing at before the season started, coming into this season, I think that 7-13 with the chance to go even higher, and and a 6-6 record at one point before he had that series against the Ghost Town Revenants. I think that that's something to be very, very proud of. If I was Brando Scotti, I would be very, very proud of that. And I think that he's just going to keep on building up off that season. And hopefully we can see him compete even harder next year. I mean, every game with him was already tough. If he can start turning around those games, he can turn it into even more of a success.
Yeah, and especially with 6 games left, there is an outside possibility that Brando Scotti could be in the thick of the playoff hunt if he has a good week this coming week. So
yeah, he has a chance. It's gonna be hard, but he has a chance. And of course, this is EPL. The crazy always happens. If you think it's not going to happen, it's going to happen in EPL.
Definitely. All right, so there's a look at the Sassy Squatches. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Chicago Curve right above them in the standings. 18 games played with a win percentage of .361, 6 wins, 11 losses, and 1 tie during the season. 24 runs scored, 49 runs against, and negative 25 run differential. But you know what? This, I think, John, is a big improvement for Clutch this year, especially given that he was at the bottom of the standings last year.
It's definitely. It's a huge improvement. It's been a success, in terms of this season compared to last season. I mean, even last year, like 4-23, that's a bit, it's a bit discouraging. But when you come back and then you have a good draft too, I mean, getting players, Daigo Getsu, Saga, Frank and Oda, as your top 3, I feel like that's a good choice to make. And yeah, the pitching squad that he has, I feel like it's pretty solid. I mean, I really like the way he drafted in terms of pitch velocity too. I mean, having the highest pitch velocity out of Onishi plus Bullet, Heater A from Daigo Getsu, and then you go slower with Shuchinaka. And even Yumashiro, I feel like that's a good those are good bullpen options after you have your fast velocity guys. And plus the lineup too, you have a bunch of clinical hitters on here, and he hits pretty well with Edogawa too. He hit some home runs this season, and it's been fun to watch. But it's just unfortunate because he has the middle of the pack, runs allowed, but just the offense hasn't picked him up on the other side. It just,
second fewest runs scored in the league right now.
Yeah, and it's just coming up with those runs, getting those hits when you need it, has been kind of affecting him. I feel like, if the offense was just a little bit, more of a push, I feel like we would see him near the 8th spot or maybe 7th spot. So it's a solid season so far, but he's not yet out of it, but it's kind of getting late right now, so we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, let's take a look at some of the matchups that he's had this year, Compass. I mean, let's see. Clutch, he's faced off with you in week 1, actually took a game off you there. Melonheads, that was the scene of the tie right there. That was an interesting series all around. Let's see, took down the Wolverines in a sweep, so that was a good series for him. The Curve, they also got the North Shore Honu. They took a game off of them. That was a big win for them. So there's been a lot of moments for the Curve this year. Big 11 inning win there in that controversial game 2 against Hokovi. And then you had the 3-game sweep at the hands of the Rockets. But then again, a lot of people have lost to John this year. So, but looking at the rest of the schedule for the Curve, I mean, you see Kane Gang right here in week 7. Then you have Jeff DeBoss in week 8. And then you finish out the season against the Boricua Islanders and Big Sid, like we talked about earlier. There's a chance here, for Clutch to maybe get into double-digit wins.
Yeah, I think that it's a pretty decent chance that he does that. I mean, we've seen throughout the season that his pitching has been able to hold some of the top offenses off. I mean, of course, he has Daigo Getsu and Onishi with goggles. Both of them are very, very hard to hit against, especially Daigo Getsu. Daigo Getsu, of course, fastest velo in the league, so everything that comes with that. Off the back of that pitching, as long as his offense starts going, of course, we've seen it go at a standstill at some times, but he could get it going at least a little bit. He could climb up to double-digit wins and have that outside chance of making the playoffs if he starts getting it going. He don't even gotta get too many runs. If you look at a lot of these games, like for example, that game he won against me, I mean, he shut me out. He only got 1 run himself, but he shut me out off that Daigo Getsu. He has that type of pitching power.
Definitely. So there's a look at Clutch's season right there. You know, a pretty solid season given the maybe the expectations coming in, maybe given the record he had last year, but definitely there's a lot of room for him to make another big step and potentially make it into playoff contention in future seasons. So next up we had Matt and the humongous Melonheads, and I'll start with you on this one, Slime. 6-11-1 on the regular season, 36 runs scored, 57 runs against. You know, this is another improved team, I do believe, from last season, right?
Yeah, I do believe so. I still love his name.
It is a very good name.
Like it's never gonna get old.
Yeah, what can you say about the humongous Melonheads and their season and some of the positives that can be taken away from it?
I'm not sure. I didn't catch I feel bad. I didn't catch a good bit of his games. I feel bad about that.
That's fair. That's fair. Let's kind of go through the schedule then a little bit for Matt and kind of do a little season recap for him here. So the Melonheads, you know, it's been a bit of a grind for them a little bit. They had a couple of close games against the Kang Kings in week 1. They actually took 2 of 3 against the Chicago Curve, the team we just mentioned, in week 2. Got them a couple wins, got them to 2-3-1, which I feel like is probably one of their best records through 2 weeks that I think I've ever seen from Matt in quite a while, actually. Then they got swept by the Rattlers in a couple of very, very close games. 2 runs, 1 run there, so very close series there. Then it was the Subarctic Narwhals, and Matt actually took a game off of Greg and the Subarctic Narwhals, and I feel like that's the big highlight for them this season.
That's a huge win in my book.
Yeah, especially against a good pitcher like Greg too.
Yeah,
taking a game from him that's praiseworthy.
Yep, and then taking a game against Dat Shadow in week 5, that was a big one for them. And then taking 2 of 3 from Brando Scotty. You know, he's been kind of, getting better in these last couple of weeks here. And now we feel like, took 1 of 3 against the Philadelphia Bandits tonight. That was a big win for him there to get to that 6th win. He's kind of improved a little bit as the season goes on. And looking at the remaining games that he has, John, you have Hokovy in week 8, and then you have Shelley in week 9. There's a possibility here for Matt to maybe move up the standings a little bit.
He could make a run because, he has a team to do it. He has, the top half of his staff, to do it. I mean, Karama and, you have possessed Atsumori. I mean, Atsumori is still pretty tough to hit. I mean, it's for me, it's somewhat easier to hit Atsumori in no lock-on than it is on lock-on 3. But that shoot ball is no joke, though. You got to find a way to time that thing and try to elevate it. He has the power, he has the staff, and, he's been playing a lot of close games. I just seen, because of the scores, there's a lot of one-run games. and like just one part of the game can really affect your win-loss total. I mean, like even the extra inning game too, like 4-4. It's just been unlucky on his side. If just things went his way, we definitely would see him over there at the 8th spot, 7th spot. He's capable. He's capable of being right there in the middle of the pack. He gives you a good competition. I scrimmed him earlier this year too. He's really great. So, he has it. I feel like, if he has a little bit more of those power swings and he lines them up, we probably will see some magic out of this run.
Definitely. I agree. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of positives here for Matt this year, especially those games he took off some of the elite opponents and the run he's on right now. I feel like there's something there that he might be able to make a run, especially given the matchups that he has right at the end of the season. All right, so next up, as we move on to 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11th place, we're starting to jump up the ladder here a little bit. We have the Phantoms and Dat Shadow at 9-12 through week 7, 34 runs scored, 46 runs against, -12 run differential. And Compass, I feel like this has to be one of the breakout performances of the entire season.
Yeah, he's been doing extremely good, even though he just comes off a sweep against one of the best players in our league, so there's no shame in that. But Dad Shadow, for his first season, he's been very, very good. Of course, he was a good lock-on 3 player before this, but we all know that lock-on 3 does not necessarily translate to the no lock-on game. But he has been very, very good for his first season. His pitching has been on point. His hitting has been very good for his first season. It hasn't been just elite yet, but it has been very good for his first ever no lock-on season. And he's shown tons of promises with these games that he's played. And he still has a chance to fight for a playoff spot even after that sweep that he suffered at the hands of Zumi.
Yeah, and that was a huge series in week 7 that Zumi took in a 3-game sweep, especially given the third game in that series. That was a crazy game where Dat Shadow, almost made a comeback. Almost made a comeback despite some unfortunate disconnections in the internet. But, there's still a chance for Dat Shadow to make a bit of a run, John. Especially given that, his final couple of weeks of the season. Let's take a look here. You have, let's see. Oh, where are the Phantoms? Facing off with X-Long in week 8. And then you have the Sassy Squatches in week 9. So there's definitely a chance here for him to get A, to double-digit wins, and B, knocking on the door of a playoff appearance.
Yeah, it's going to come at the price, though, of Kiba and Myojin. It's going to be pretty tough to get up there, but I feel like he has the team to do it. We've been seeing some of the home runs, too. I mean, he hit one with the red today. Started to hit a home run with Otani. I mean, he has a squad. He drafted a really solid team. He's been playing pretty good for his first year, too, man. I'm really impressed, honestly. He's kept these games pretty close, too. I mean, he ended up only 46 runs, shows that he's a good pitcher in this league. I feel like, as long as he can keep it close to these next 2, I mean, he can definitely make a push for that 8th or 7th spot right now. Good stuff for right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th the 7th fewest runs against this year, by the way. So that's not
good for your first year.
That's not bad. Out of 18 teams, that's right around league average here. So
good first stuff. Impressions.
Exactly, first impressions. And I think, and Slime, what do you think? First impressions? I mean, we're talking someone who has something going for him here.
Since I never really went up against Dat Shadow till this season, and first of all, his pitching great pitching. Can mess you up when he needs to. If I remember, he doesn't use two-tap, does he?
I don't think so, no.
Wow.
So he's just like Greg. Doesn't use two-tap, but can dot you up when he needs to somehow.
Definitely, yep. It's a lot of potential with that Shadow in future seasons, most definitely. All right, let's move on. Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was saying that his record being what it is now for his first season, very impressed.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, let's move up the ladder here and let's go to MC Scales and the Rattlers. Coming in with an 8-10 record through week 6. 35 runs scored, 45 runs against, just a -10 run differential and a .444 win percentage. But, underlying that record, Compass, there's some good stuff here.
Yeah, he's been playing very good. Of course, he got out to a little bit of a rough start. He had a pretty rough matchup there in week 1, and it kind of spiraled out of control. But he's been able to bounce back. Of course, we expect a very talented and experienced player like MC Scales to not get too rattled off that. No pun intended with his name, but
Nice.
He's one of the top players. He's been playing very well recently. He's been primed to make a playoff push, in my opinion. And if he didn't come out to such a bad start in the season, if he didn't get swept by the Purple Hurricanes, we could have been looking at him pretty deep in this playoff picture. We could have been seeing him fighting over some seeding here, but hasn't been going his way too much. He's gonna have to really fight to just get in the playoffs with that 7th or 8th seed, but he's been playing very good recently on both sides of the ball. Of course, we know how good he is at pitching. His contact slowly coming back. We know how good he is as a contact hitter, as he's shown last year. But yeah, I mean, still one of the better players in our league.
Yeah, especially given that, MC Scales was, I believe, the number 7 seed last year. So pretty interesting stuff. Or at least, I think 7th or 6th seed. I forget. But he was
7th.
Yeah, he was 7.
Okay, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's take a look at the remaining schedule here, John. I mean, let's see. We got the Wolverines in week 7 for him. Then he's got Compass in week 8. And then he's got the Smooth Jazz in week 9. So a little bit of a mixture of really tough opponents, maybe some scrappier opponents like Jeff and Shelly. There's an outside chance here. I mean, given that he's in, let's say, 10th place right now, there's still a chance for him to get into what's going to be a very crowded playoff field.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, this middle of the pack right here, I mean, it's very solid. I mean, each of these players, I mean, even the bottom tier, man, I mean, everybody in this league is still pretty good, man. But MC, man, he's knocking on the door. He's very determined this time around. He definitely will keep the games close. We'll see how he does against, Shelly. Shelly's trying to find his mojo back. But, MC, though, he always finds a way to find, to come back with the contact hits. Man, a good opponent, man. But it's just unfortunate just because, again, if he takes, a game or two, a few games off against, the sweep series that, were me and Slime, he's already up there. He's already in the 8th spot, already 7th spot, maybe even 6th spot. So, I mean, he can make this push right here. The hard series is going to be against Compass, though. Mm-hmm. It just hopes that he has to get a game in order to stay in this hunt, off Compass. So it's going to be tough in that week 8 series. But, if he can, insert his way, in the series against Shelly and Jeff, he can definitely make that run for the 7th and 8th spot.
Definitely. Yeah, and Slime, this is going to be a very, very tight race going into the postseason too. I mean, what kind of chances do you think that MC Scales might have at making maybe 8th seed, 7th seed, something like that?
Honestly, I think he might have a pretty good chance. He has the skills to do it, honestly.
All right, it'll be interesting to see how that finishes out then. All right, let's go into 9th place now, top of the table here, top half of the table, I should say, and we find X with a record of 8, 9, and 1, just hovering just below 500 with a 472 win percentage, 39 runs scored, 49 runs against through week 6 action, negative 10 run differential. I think this is another big improvement season for X-Long here, Compass. This has been maybe a little bit of a surprise, maybe?
I mean, we've seen him getting better and better. He's a go-to GM. First off, he's made so many trades. He flipped around Asa, got a bunch of value from him for me, and then went around, got a better pitcher for less value than what he got back for a lesser pitcher in Asa, which is a huge win for him. Any way that you spin it, him upgrading the pitcher slot and still gaining at least a little bit of value, huge win for him right there. But he's been playing very good, especially with the bats recently, and playing with Joy-Cons, that's very, very impressive. He's come a long way, especially on that offensive side. You can tell that he's a student of the game. He's always asking questions. He's always watching the tip videos and everything like that. It's really come along well for him recently, and with the addition of an ace like Kiba that could really shut out any game, his season has been looking very, very good. I mean, he was one tie away from being at a 500 record going into these last 2 weeks, and he's also right there in that playoff hunt, and it's gonna be pretty nice to have somebody like Kiba going into that playoff hunt where that game is gonna be very hard for an opponent to win.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the rest of his season, Slime. I mean, we're talking Compass in week 7. We're talking the Phantoms in week 8. Bay Area Rockets in week 9. It's not going to be an easy schedule the rest of the way for him.
Definitely not. Let's see. Was it week 6 that you just said that Compass was in? Yeah, that had to be week 6, right?
Week 7.
Week 7.
Week 7. My mistake. I'm half asleep.
It's all good.
Week 7 and 9 will be his hardest challenge. That's for sure.
Yep, I definitely agree with you on that. What do you think? What do you think X-Long needs to do to really do well in that series?
I'm not sure, but the only thing I can say is just in all capital letters, lock in.
Yep. Lock in, but not lock on.
Yeah, lock in, no lock on, dude.
That's a knee slapper right there.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Sure.
John. What's your big assessment of X-Long season?
I mean, good trades all around, and I feel like his team is just very solid all the way through. Pitching also, I mean, good pitcher, X-Long, man. And he has the pop, with Boo, he has Kiba right there. Clinical hitters, Kurosaki, Bito. Man, and he's really good with Heisuka for some reason. He likes Heisuka a lot. And I feel like that's his go-to man. He has a team. He has the team to do it. And if he can get pitching on his side, the way it has been, he keeps these games close. And he has a little bit of the boost on offense. If he can get more runs in, I feel like he can get that playoff spot. And I hope I gotta say this though, it's pretty impressive within these series that he's played. How many extra inning games he's had? He's only given up 49 runs.
Yeah, I mean, he's
Which
probably
is
played the
pretty
most
good.
innings out of anybody.
Yeah, the 15 inning game against the Sassy Squatches. I think this previous series against the Wolverines, he had 3 extra inning games. He knows how to navigate through his pitching staff, even after them too. Yeah, just a lot of extra inning games that he's played, and only giving up 49 runs. I mean, that shows like how good of a pitcher he is, and how great of a competitor he is, even with the handheld too. I mean, that's an accomplishment within itself. Yeah, it's going to be tough for these next few weeks, especially going against Compass and me, and there's a game in the middle. Forgot who he's facing. It's the middle.
I believe it's Shadow. It's Shadow.
Oh, yeah, that Phantom. Oh yeah, Phantom's still trying to go for a spot too. It's going to be a very competitive and sweaty 3 weeks. But he can do it. He definitely can do it.
Definitely. All right, let's move on up the list, and we start getting into the teams that currently, by win percentage, are in the top 8 right now. So let's take a look. Let's talk a little bit about Hokovy. 9-9 with the DC Delegates, even 500 record, first 500 record we have seen on the schedule so far. 48 runs scored, 62 runs against, a -14 run differential. It's been a bit up and down for Hokovy, but I think there's been a lot more ups than there have been downs.
Yeah, he's looked very impressive, especially on the offensive side of the ball. His PCI control is top tier. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. His PCI control is top tier. He's right there on the ball almost every single time. His pitching is a little bit on the weaker side, but if he could get that toned down here in the last few weeks, it's going to make him a scary team coming into the playoffs. And I think that this is a very, very, very good first season for him. I think that he surpassed a lot of people's expectations, including the panels. I did not expect this type of season from Hokovy.
Yeah, John, I feel like this is a team that really showed out this year, especially, against top tier talent like, yourself. That was a great series. He took a game off of YG in week 1, which was just a crazy moment, especially for us on the panel. He took a game from Compass, and what was a pretty frustrating game for Compass, but that just shows you how Hokovy has been. He took 2 of 3 from the curve.
I can't believe that error.
Still thinking about it, huh?
It haunts me.
Again. And then, taking 2 of 3 from Big Sid, who's a very good competitor. And this has been just a fantastic season, but there's going to be a lot of tough matchups. It's going to be Greg against Greg in week 7, and then it's going to be against Matt in week 8, and then
Hurricanes
Slime in week 9. That's going to be a little bit of a gauntlet, given how much we know about Greg's performances, how much we know about how the Melonheads have improved, and how much the Hurricanes maybe could be gunning for a top spot, a top seed in the league.
This is gonna be a very tough one, man.
Yeah, not gonna lie, those are very, very rough matchups, especially for him, knowing that he hasn't been the greatest in runs allowed, going up against some scary hitters like Slime. Of course, Greg is no slouch on the hitting, but also he could just shut you out, which doesn't bode well for somebody like Hokovy, who might be prone to giving those runs up and then not be able to get those runs back on Greg. I don't know. It's looking really, really tough.
Yeah, I mean, the Delegates, this is the 3rd most runs against in the league right now. Yep, because you had Big Sid at 80, you have Brando at 68, and then Hokovi at 62.
I think it might have to be with the back end of the bullpen. I feel like his top starters, Ikari, he did have some bad starts with Yamaguchi here and there, and Kokoro. It's just the pitching side, it hasn't been in his favor, drafting wise. But he has a good top two right there, Yamaguchi and Ikari. Ikari has definitely kept them in a lot of games too. He made it work though in some extra inning games, with Sana, Tsukami, and Hikata. I mean, he finds a way to make it work. And a pretty good solid lineup too. A lot of clinical hitters. Morikawa in the middle of the order.
And he knows how to use them too.
Yeah, it definitely does. Kurigane, it's a good squad right here, man. Has a team to do it. Can make it work out. It's just a matter of, can you use your pitchers effectively? Can you use their slow velocity, to deceive the batters, for these next 3 weeks or so. It's gonna be a tough one though, but he has a pretty solid team right here. He can definitely do it. He has a scrappy squad. Has really good competitive nature too. I mean, kept a lot of games close, throughout this whole season. It's been pretty fun to watch, honestly, for a first-year player.
Definitely. All right, we go now to another rookie. Even though I really shouldn't say rookie, he is technically a rookie when it comes to EPL, but it is Kane Gang and the Kane Kings at a 10-8 record, 53 runs scored, 39 runs against, a positive 14 run differential, solidly in the playoff spot right now. But this is a very big logjam here. But I think, given Kane Gang's pedigree in this game, Slime, this is a pretty successful season for Kang, especially given that he's on the cusp of a playoff spot.
Yeah, that sounds about right. From the quote unquote new rookie here.
I mean, there was some questions about Kang Gang coming into the season as somebody who, of course, didn't have EPL experience. We didn't exactly know how well he would come out and no lock on. Of course, we still expected him to do good because Kang Gang is one of the GOATs of our region. Of course, I mean, he has so many accolades. We could sit here and talk about his accolades forever. But anyway. He just comes out here and proves it again in an unfamiliar environment. I mean, who knows how unfamiliar this environment actually is. He's got loads of experience. Even before WBSC has come out, he probably has some of the most experience in this Discord server. Probably in this league too. Just one of the smartest players. He comes in and he shows it again that he's one of the top players no matter what's going on, the rule set, what players he's using, anything that happens, he's right up there with the top players. He's elite, and this is a really good season for him, especially if he can secure his playoff spot.
Yeah, especially since he got off to a really good start. I mean, we're talking 7-2 through the first 3 weeks. Even took a game off of Greg, which was very good for him. And then it just kind of went, X long. He took 2 of 3, but then he took 1 of 3, only 1 of 3 from the Rattlers. And then against the Comets, it was a sweep. And now he's got the Chicago Curve. He's got the Bariqua Islanders, and he's got the Philadelphia Bandits to end off the season. That's a pretty good lineup of players to end off your first season in EPL.
Yeah, he's going up against some pretty decently tough matchups, and the momentum is definitely not going in his favor. But I think that he can definitely turn it around and still keep a playoff spot. I think that that's what's most likely, is that he keeps his playoff spot. But who knows, with the games like that, people are going to be gunning from him. People are going to be gunning for the playoff spot as well as trying to play spoiler. So anything could happen, and he's very much on the hot seat right now.
Definitely. All right, let's move up into the top 6. And we got Zumi Kaku at the 6th spot right now, 6th place with a 12-9 record, 68 runs scored, 52 runs against, a plus 16 run differential, a 571 winning percentage. Zumi Kaku, given that he was one game off from being either A, the EPL champion last year, or B, the EPL regular season champion last season, it's a little bit of a, I don't want to say a step back, but it is a little bit, not like what we're used to seeing from Zumi, but he has played a lot of tougher competition this year.
Yeah, his competition has been very, very tough, as well as his pitching just hasn't been on the same tier as we've seen in the past. We all know that Zumi is one of the top pitchers, but I do think that his staff is catching up to him a little bit. Of course, his staff is not bad or anything. It's still a pretty good staff, but he does not have any real top end talent. His best pitcher is Kirill. Simon is a really good pitcher, but I think that he took him just a little bit too high. I feel like he's been kind of feeling those downfalls, and he's been letting up a lot more runs than we would expect Zumi to let up, and it's led him to being in the position that he's at right now, where he's 12-9 when we expected him to be competing for that first seed once again.
Yeah, and he's coming off, though, a very good game against the Phantoms. Very good series against the Phantoms, a 3-game sweep, but he definitely needed it after the last couple of weeks, especially given that there was a combined perfect game thrown against him by Greg, which was very uncharacteristic, and then a 3-game sweep at the hands of John's Copyright and the Bay Area Rockets. That was a close series at times. So, he's been a little bit of a funk in the middle weeks, but let's take a look at the rest of the season here, John and Slime. We have for him the let's see, what has he got in week 8 here?
So you got the Wolverines,
he's got Shelly
right
and YG last couple weeks of the season. Given where his record is now, you two, do you believe that that Zumi can compete for maybe a top spot, at least a top 4 seed, maybe?
Possibly.
I think that he
so.
can.
I think so.
I think that he can, assuming that, of course, Shelly is going to be trying to play spoiler, but he's got a good chance of sweeping that week. And then YG, of course, we're going to talk about him next. Super tough opponent. We could talk about his season too, but we know the type of bad blood that they have. Of course, not actual bad blood, but the rivalry that they had from last season, because YG kind of stole that spot from Zumi, that spot to North Carolina, and I'm sure that Zumi is definitely going to want to get his get back for that. That's something that I would definitely want to get my get back for too. Sure, he's going to focus on that week, and I could see a real possibility of him ending up top 4.
Yeah, John, what do you think?
I can see. Zumi's a great player, man. It's just unfortunate that you got swept, 2 times in a row. That definitely, affects the record a lot, But, just because of those 2 bad weeks doesn't mean that, he's totally out of it. I feel like he's still up there. He's still Zumi. And I feel like he could be within the first, I see him hitting, 3rd place. He still can hit 3rd place throughout all of this. The matchup against YG is going to be very fun to watch. I'm going to tell you that. So I'm looking forward to that. But it's going to be... He's a good player, man. I got nothing much to say. He always competes. He has a contact hitting, too. he gets that contact hitting barrage, in a single inning and can take you out that way. He can still be very dangerous and very deceptive at still pitching,
Definitely. All right, let's move on to the defending regular season champion of the EPL, and that is the Ghost Town Revenants and YG. Coming in through week 6 with a 12-6 record, 50 runs scored, 37 runs against, 13 positive run differential in 18 games played. And, YG, this is a solid season. Maybe not on the same par as it was last year, but this is still a very solid season, Slime.
Oh, for sure. Not like you said, it's not like how it was last season, but well, he told us why, but he's doing pretty good. He's doing surprisingly a lot. Well, he did prove me wrong on a bunch of series that I said maybe he'd lose, but then again, I was hating, so we don't count those.
Yeah, John. What have you thought about YG's season so far?
Still pretty good, and I still see he still has a lot of good power in him right now. I mean, in the middle of the season, he did drop a few series. Especially the one against the Phantoms. He's trying to rework his hitting, but eventually he did find it again in the Sassy Squatches, series. He's doing pretty good. I feel like, somebody to look out for, man. And he's going to be my next game. That's not going to be a lot of fun for me. That's going to be hard, pitch, against this guy. Especially I go pitch the contact most of the time, but I got to find a way to strike this guy out. This guy's going to go, get a lot of home runs off me with the lineup he has. So we'll see. It's going to be a good matchup. And I think he has a good shot, Still, I think he has about 3 series to play. Against Jeff, there's me, and then he's going to play against the Honu. It's going to be a very interesting last 3 weeks. Yeah, I still see him being in the middle of the pack in the playoff hunt right there.
Yeah, and let me tell you, he really needed that sweep against the Philadelphia Bandits back in week 5. Or week 6,
Yeah, that was a good one. The good momentum to bring him back. That's for sure.
Especially the 3-game sweep against the Squatches as well, when both had the same record too.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He's definitely won some pivotal games. Of course, we've talked about it. He kind of slowed down in the middle of the season hitting wise, but going into this, he's been heating back up off the back of some videos that he shared with us, thankfully. But going into this postseason, you can't help but say that he's got to be one of the favorites to win this whole Summit Series. Of course, he has the pedigree of being the regular season champ. We know how much he wants to go to North Carolina and how much he performs there at North Carolina. He has a good chance to take home the whole thing.
Most definitely, yeah. Let's go now to the Purple Hurricanes and Slimefall. One of our colleagues here. 15-6 record, 70 runs scored, which, by the way, is second best in the entirety of EPL. 52 runs against, plus 18 run differential through week 7. And Slime on the cusp of clinching a playoff spot here. This is pretty good, if he hasn't clinched a playoff spot already. But so far, very good season for Slimefall, especially considering, where he was last year, right, Compass?
Yeah, he's done very, very well this season. Of course, looks very scary on the hitting side. Pitching side, it's a little bit worse, but he's still there. He's still doing really good. Suzukaze really shuts out games. Other than that, it's a little bit shaky. That's why the runs allowed is a little bit up in my opinion, but Slime more than makes up for it with the amount of bombs he hits, the great hitting he has. Of course, he's second in runs scored, and I mean, he's coming into the end of the season with a lot of momentum and an outside shot of still getting that first seed. I mean, I'm not sure the probability, but I think he still has a chance of getting it. And with the way that Slime can heat up and really send anything out the park when he's hot and locked in, I mean, he could do it. We know the talent that he has.
Yeah, John, what have you thought about Slime's season this year?
Think about it. Is that like, how do you hit home runs with non-home run hitters? Yakiman 3 goo, Yakiman 5 goo. Hey, I mean, it's really fun to watch, honestly. You know, through all of this, you know, still such a good power hitter. You know, the pitching side too has been improved. You know, throughout this whole season, I feel like, you know, if pitching starts to struggle a little bit, I think the offense definitely picks it up. Really solid squad. You know, definitely going to make playoffs, man. And it's going to be tough facing against you if we ever match up. That's for sure. Yeah, it's just a good season. Really good season. And a better team this year around.
Yeah, because I actually used my brain this time, guys.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the season, Ben Slime?
We improved a whole lot. And by that, I mean my GM, who is going to be me for now, finally learned how to draft and to pick smart when it comes to players instead of just preferences. But like they said with the pitching set, yeah, that's kind of our downside right now.
Yep, definitely a place to improve going to the final couple of weeks for you in the season. I mean, you take on B. Farrell in week 8, you take on Hokovy and the DC Delegates in week 9. Those are going to be some tough matchups there. Some sneaky tough matchups.
Can't wait for either series.
Definitely. All right, let's go to the top 3 here, and we go to Greg the Egg, arguably one of the top EPL rookies, I guess we could call it.
This is the most questionable rookie.
Yeah,
affiliated EPL rookie.
Man.
He's been in EPL before in the non-affiliated seasons, but this is just a fantastic year. Kind of what we expected from Greg the Egg. 14-4 record, 59 runs scored, 26 runs against, a plus 33 run differential. The best run prevention in the league by 7 runs.
Crazy. He's having a Ben Simmons rookie year where it's not really a rookie year, but I guess we could count him as a rookie. It's like when people say Jason Tatum is still 19. He's still 19, I guess. I mean,
hard.
I guess he's a rookie, but I mean, we've talked about his resume countless times. He's been going off. He's been having an expected season. We all knew when he finally got into EPL, he was gonna be at the top. He's been one of the top no lock-on players for a long time now, multiple years, and he's shown it. He's one of the best pitchers in the league. He's the best pitcher stat-wise in the league, and he doesn't even use two-tap. He's just that good. His hitting is there at the top. It's not exactly at that elite level. I think only one person's at that elite level, but what can you do about that? But still very good on that hitting side. Of course, those runs allowed, extremely good. He's going to be looking scary when it comes to playoffs, because if you can't get any runs against him, it's not looking good. And he's been able to shut out these great offenses multiple times. He's shown it time and time again. He still has that chance to win that first seed.
Yep, like this series right here with the Purple Hurricanes. You know, we've had. Yep, and then he's had the Series against the Honu, that included a combined perfect game. That was big. And he's still got
power and the contact.
Yeah, he's still got some very good matchups ahead. Some very, maybe favorable matchups, all things considered. You know, he's got the DC Delegates in Week 7. He's got the Sassy Squatches in Week 8. And then he's got Compass in Week 9.
That'll be fun.
That's the big series right there, man.
That could decide quite a few things, especially, you know, let's take a look at the gap here between the top 3 here. Now, I know there's a bit of a discrepancy in terms of games played right now. 21 for John, 18 for Compass, 18 for Greg. But this is going to be a logjam at the top of the regular season for getting into the USA Finals.
It's going to be really tough, especially with John coming down to 3 losses. It's starting to get really close, and of course, we still got to clutch up our Week 7 games, each of us. But yeah, I mean, it's looking closer and closer, like either one of us can take it. And I mean, honestly, we could end up in a situation where at the end, it could come down to our final series where one of us have to take it and we get the first seed, or even worse if we end up in a situation where one person takes the series but the other person had to take the series to get the first seed and John just wins out the first seed off of somebody playing spoiler. We could always end up in that situation, but that series, it's gonna mean a whole lot no matter what.
Definitely.
I do want to get back into Greg's roster though. I mean, you get the best pitcher, you know, in our league, some of the best pitchers, you know, to choose from. Mileman, Kareba, One, Junketsu out of the bullpen. You know, those are good top 4 right there. You know, you have like a starting pitcher, or like you have the flexibility to use them as relievers and also starters too. I feel like that's the biggest part about a squad, is that they have that, you know, they don't just have the starter ability. They just can just go into the out of the bullpen easily. And it's been a great season for him too. I mean, contact hitting too. I've seen so many of his games where he has like double digits in the clean hit column, you know, for his stats. It's nothing to be messing with. Now it's just like, are we going to see Takarazuka on the mound? Because that guy has a forkball if he wants to use him in a pinch.
Pretty boy.
Yeah, Pretty boy can pitch with the forkball. So, yeah, I mean, great season for him. Great competitor. I think the Week 2 series is still one of my favorites that I played this whole year. I mean, it's just been a fun season to watch from him too. I mean,
most definitely.
Great player, man.
Definitely. All right, now we go to the number 2 player in the league right now at 15-3, 833 win percentage, a positive 33 run differential, second best runs against in the league right now, and that is Compass in the Space City Comets. Another very solid season from our defending EPL champ, playoff champ, Compass. So what do we think about Compass' season so far, John?
Man, it's crazy to see how he drafted and then all the trades he made too to improve his team. It feels like it's like watching the Warriors or just watching a super team like the Dodgers kind of move players around and then also get the same results and a great season so far. Been fun to watch too. We know Compass as like the contact hitting guy he is. But he has some power bats to be scared of. Also, like, you know, two-way threats and Phoebus, Oda. This is an amazing squad that he built up. And I'm so sorry for the viewers. This is where we're going to be gassing each other up in this part of the video. But, yeah, he traded for Asa, has Phoebus, you know, top of his staff, you know, underrated pitchers and Matsuzaki and Atome. Great clinical hitters, people who can hit for power. I mean, just a really overall great team. That can do everything. It literally can do everything.
Yeah, but if there's one thing that you think Compass needs to improve on a little bit if he wants to get to that top spot, what do you think that's going to be?
His hit and run game. I'm just kidding. I don't know what he needs to work on.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's the the power hitting, or it's even I don't know. I mean, he's already like hitting home runs, with of course his top players too. I mean, Oda and Phoebus like cranking it out of the ballpark. I don't know what else there is to to improve on here and there. Just keeping the leads. Keeps doing what he does. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, well, let's ask the man himself, Compass. What have you thought about your season? What are some of the positives? What are some of the things that you need to improve on?
I mean, if I were to rate the season, I would rate it 8 out of 10. Pretty happy with what's been going on, but I feel like I've been making a lot of improvements. I've been playing really well. Of course, my pitching has not been what I would like it to be. I think that's been kind of a weak point in my game, as well as just holding down leads. I feel like I've been losing to a little bit of players that I shouldn't, as well as I feel like a couple of my losses have just been bad luck, which, I mean, what can you do about it? That's kind of why my season's at an 8 out of 10, because there's been a couple of losses. I mean, I'm thinking of that Huckabee series where I'm losing off an error. I'm thinking of Big Sid where I lose off of what I thought should have been a tag out. I thought I beat him to the bag, but game said I didn't. I'm feeling very good about my season, and I don't know. I just feel like I just gotta keep holding it down. I gotta be better at pitching, mostly. But, I mean, I gotta improve everywhere if I want to take it off of John. I mean, we see the type of stats John's putting up.
Definitely. And let's talk about John. And actually, before we talk about John, I've done the math over the course of this video, and I do believe that you are the first person to clinch a spot in playoffs.
Hey.
Congratulations! Congratulations!
Nice.
Yeah, so John comfortably in the playoffs, given that he's only have 6 games left, and looking at DC Delegates down at 9-9. If they sweep and go to 12-9, you can still make the playoffs with 6 losses. So pretty good stuff right there. So,
congratulations.
So there's the math. There's the math right there. But let's talk a little bit about John's copyright season. Obviously, probably the biggest turnaround in the league overall, I do believe. Slime.
Man, I got a question real quick. For y'all here, and of course the people watching it. Y'all could drop it down in the comments. Is this the best season we have ever seen in No Lock On history, or in any EPL? Any EPL season? Is this the best season that we've ever seen? This could be. I mean, we've never seen somebody hit like this. I mean, I don't mean to sit here and just glaze John, but like 110 runs, that's insane. Like, this dude is literally hitting anything and everything that comes over the plate out of the park, like to the point where it just looks like he's playing lock on 3. It's literally insanity to watch one of his games go down. And it's so scary because, I mean, I don't even have words. Just look at the stats. Look at the run differential. He has 72 run differential, and the next 2 players that we've said have been playing so great, in me and Greg, we each have less than half of his. I mean, we double ours. We put ours together. It doesn't even equal his. He's been going absolutely insane this season, and I mean, that's all you can say about it. I mean, 110 runs scored. Probably the best power hitter we've seen in no lock on in America. I'll put that out there right now. Wow. Just wow. What a season.
Yeah, Slime, what can you say about John's season?
Remarkable. He's hitting like an absolute demon.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with you on that one. Yeah, John, what's kind of clicked for you this season? What do you think you still need to maybe improve on, despite a pretty good record at 18-3?
Through all of this, I mean, 9-18 was not. Well, I mean, the first half of the season last year, during the 9-18 season, I was pretty down on myself, the way I played. But again, I was facing against pretty good competition. I feel like, even playing through all those, I still feel like I was playing pretty decently. The first big change was moving to the Pro controller. I feel like I was playing on Joy-Cons. They're not the best, but it is doable. To go on no lock on and use them. But since this change right here, and then I tried focusing more on no lock on hitting. I really wanted to improve myself a lot, hitting wise, to get myself into these games. I feel like I'm in a really good spot right now. I feel like I still need to get better at the power hitting and find more power hitting. I've been dipping in the numbers a little bit, but I found it, through my contact hitting throughout these last few weeks. It's been pretty nice, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. And coming off a 2 out of 3 series against the Bariqua Islanders, and game 2, a little bit of a tough one for you there, but still a very good game either way you look at it. But still in a very good spot, but it's going to be a little bit tight going down into the last couple of weeks of the season. I mean, we're talking, you're going to have a matchup with, let's see, YG in week number 8. Then you're going to be facing off against Xlong in week 9. So a couple of interesting matchups coming up. That big week 8 matchup, though, is looming.
Yes. Probably gonna happen Wednesday. I think Wednesday the 9th. We're gonna see how that series goes. It's gonna be good. I know YG. I mean, we both butt heads, at USA Finals last year. I took a win off him, and then he wins, the championship. I mean, it's always fun, going against him. He's a really great player right there, man. Shoot. Oh man, if there's one thing I look at is on my team is that I don't really have a whole dedicated ace because I traded away for that just so I can go focus on more of the contact side of the game. But even then, I still try to make it work. I hope if my pitching doesn't work out as much, I hopefully go back to the contact hitting game.
Definitely. So, looking at these standings, taking a look at who we have coming up with each of those teams, who do you think is going to be on the top of the standings at the end of the season, at the end of week 9, at the end of the league, folks?
I still think it's going to be John. I think that it's going to be too hard for me or Greg to do anything when we both have to face each other.
Oh, that's right.
And then everybody else, they're kind of far out. I mean, they have an outside chance. Of course, Slime has an outside chance, but it's going to take a lot for him to make it up there. So I still have John having the highest likelihood of coming out with the regular season championship.
I could see Compass stealing it away and Greg and Slime. It's just the top 4, especially with the games played too. It's not out of the question just yet. Who knows how I'm going to do against YG. Even against Exlon too, a good pitcher. And I gave him Kiba as well. I'm like, oh no, why'd I do that?
Oh, sick. Kiba gets the thank you. That's great.
I know, yeah. So it's still yet to be determined. I still feel like there's still enough time for the bottom teams to do it. I still gotta be consistent within these next few weeks. We definitely should. It definitely last series, it showed that I wasn't, invincible, facing against Soft Sid. So I feel like anything can really happen right here, man.
You did conquer that ownage. You did say he had ownage. Did conquer it.
Yeah, I mean, dude has my number in scrimmages. Like, whether it be lock on 3, lock on 2 for the Wheel of Destiny tournament, and even like the no lock on scrimmages. I always praise Sid, bro. Always praise Sid. But yeah, this is gonna be interesting last few weeks. We can definitely see a lot of players moving up, moving down. That's gonna be a lot of fun to even keep up with, to see who's gonna be in this playoff hunt and even in the hunt for like the first seed.
Yep, and hopefully by this time next week, we're going to see a lot of 24s. In fact, all 24s in this gameplay.
Hoping.
All right, so that is going to be it for us tonight, guys. This was a fun discussion, talking about all the teams, talking about all that they've done throughout the year, where they need to improve, some of the positives that they've had throughout the year. This was a very, very good conversation. Obviously, not a lot of predictions this week, but we're going to do that for our Week 9 show, and that is going to be absolutely outstanding. I cannot wait for next week to come. It's going to be great. Guys, any final thoughts for tonight?
It's getting spicy.
It's going to take
coming in hot right now.
It's
coming in hot. This is going to be fun.
All
it's going to be fun weeks.
Anything can happen.
Yep, anything can happen, and that is the motto of this league. And that is going to do it for our roundtable discussion today. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. For John, for Slime, for Compass, I've been Robert Tomlinson, the commissioner of the USA eBaseball Power League, signing out. Take care, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.